I'm so tired. But I need to finish. I like lost my wind. I stopped recording literally maybe not 30 seconds ago, and I was like, oh god, I'm so sleepy. Regardless, okay, so I last left off with Orihime being scared of his mask. She's scared of his mask. She's not at all paying attention to the fact that it's Ichigo behind this mask. That, I think, right there is very essential when it comes to whether or not Orihime is actually in love with Ichigo. I think she cares very deeply about Ichigo more than any other man. I definitely think she has a crush on Ichigo. I don't think she's truly in love with Ichigo. I think she is in love with the image of Ichigo. She's in love with the image she has created of Ichigo, which is a celestial being who blots out the sun in his all-heroic silhouette, which is untrue. And a lot of people argue that she has come to terms with Ichigo because she shouts later on to him in his fight with Grimjaw, and he's like, he comes back around or something. I'll explain that in a second. Excuse me. Oh god, I'm so bloody tired. So, I lost my train of thought. Alright, so she cannot accept him in his mask because it's not the Kurosaki-kun she's familiar with. It's not, and she recognizes that when she's healing him with the hole in his chest from Urukyura. She says there's something in here that I cannot reject, and it's this hollow. And she just doesn't recognize it. I think subconsciously she refuses to recognize it because she believes Ichigo to be this wonderful, nice, loving person, which he is, but he's also, Ichigo's a very dark person. Ichigo's a very troubled person. He's a very complex person. He is not princely. He is not pure at all. No, Ichigo's actually, he's pretty dark. He's had a lot of dark things happen to him. As cliche as it is to have, a mother die, and then wake up with her dead body on top of you, that screws you up. And he is a dark person, and I don't think Orihime, being as innocent as she is, she doesn't really grasp that, and that's the what's it called? Shiza. No, I can't remember. It is, I'm not going to be able to think of the word, but it's taking that dark side of him, that really messed up side that he represses as much as possible. It's becoming a physical thing, which is his mask. And it hides that part of him that he's afraid to show to other people. And with Orihime's reaction being that's everything that Ichigo's ever been afraid of, is rejection from his friends. Rejection. And she shows that so potently. This isn't the Kurosaki-kun I know, I'm afraid of you. And that's why Ichigo is fighting so horribly, because all he's thinking about is, I'm scaring one of my friends who I'm trying to protect. They're rejecting me for this, and it's who I am, I can't control that. And that's why he was so relieved when Orihime said, she cheered for him, because he said, even if she is scared, she's still cheering for me. That's good. That's a good sign. It is a good sign. But, I'm gonna keep thinking of that bloody word until I get it, so I'm gonna look it up right now, because I know I wrote it somewhere. Actually, no, I'm not gonna look it up right now, because that's me in my ADHD. Back on focus. So, oh, that word's gonna bother me. So, regardless, she says to him, after being hounded by a 3-year-old, which I thought was totally, and it shouldn't be necessary for a girl to be hounded by a 3-year-old to cheer for a man you love for 5 lifetimes, apparently, but it takes her that long to realize that she does need to cheer for him, which she does, and such relieves Ichigo, and obviously, a lot of IchiHime fans squee over it, and I'm not going to take that away from you, obviously. I'm not going to be like, that was not squee-worthy. It's your ship. I'm just saying how I feel. And you may take it how you like. But listen to what she says. She says, don't die, Kurosaki-kun. which is good. I don't care if you win, just don't get hurt anymore. What has it always been about for Ichigo? Winning. Has it ever once been, I gotta survive. It doesn't matter if I win, I gotta survive. It's never been that way. Never. And for those who doubt me, go read, I think it's book 13. I'm not sure. It's the book with Kenpachi, the fight with Kenpachi. And Ichigo's actually faced with an enemy that he can't slice immediately, obviously. And he's freaking out. And as he's dying, Zangetsu comes to him. And he says a couple things, and one of the things that he says is, do you want to fight? Do you want to survive? Or do you want to win? And Ichigo says, survival is pointless. Fighting is pointless. Fighting is pointless. I have to win. And Zangetsu isn't satisfied with that. He says, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say? And Ichigo says, I have to win. And he repeats it again. I have to win. That's the point of everything, is I need to win. And that's actually pretty darn smart if you think about it. Because if you're in a fight with someone, not getting hurt anymore, does that entail winning? No. This is what winning entails. You win. That's a good thing, usually. You defeat your enemy, usually. You progress with your goals. You move forward. You get stronger. You gain experience, etc., etc., etc. Winning is a very positive thing. Not getting hurt anymore. Survival. Survival's a good thing, obviously. I'm not saying, screw survival, you don't need that. But survival in the face of winning. Usually winning entails survival. Survival is kind of a part and parcel package of winning. So survival on its own is just kind of like the flimsy, like, oh, well, I could have won and survived. So survival, not getting hurt anymore, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you win your fight, doesn't mean you defeat your enemy, doesn't mean you go any closer to your goal, nothing. And that is made so blatantly, painfully clear that 5 seconds after Grimjaw is defeated, Nuatora shows up and beats the living daylights out of Ichigo. And no, that's a lie. Actually, no, it's not a lie at first. He does. But then, it's not enough that Nuatora is beating him. He sends his lackey to beat him. His little minion is beating the great Ichigo. He's not even a number. Tesla. Tesla's a sexy business. Tesla's hot. Hot Minotaur. But obviously he's not a number. He's a minion of number 5, which is Nuatora. So obviously Ichigo had just beaten 6, and for a minion that's not even a number, that's pathetic, and that's ridiculous. So not only right after Orihime says, "Don't get hurt anymore. I don't care if you win. I don't care if you lose. Just don't get hurt anymore." You know. That's shot to shit, basically. And this is, I think, where I despised Orihime the most out of everything. Hold that thought. I think I'm going to find that word. I'm going to find it because I know I wrote it here somewhere. Well, this is where I despise, Orihime for this time. Is that it? No. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting totally off track right here. Okay, so I can't find the word. Materialize is what I saw, but I don't think that's what I was trying to get at, but maybe it is. Anyway, so, she is being held by Nuatora. Well, she was being held first by Tesla. And they say, "We are not given orders to hurt you. We cannot hurt you." So they can't hurt her. They are not permitted to hurt her or inflict any harm upon her. And then then Tesla says, don't even try to use your fairies. We will destroy them. So her fairies are more important than Ichigo's life? If her fairies were to be destroyed, or threatened to be destroyed, in her attempts to use them in order to save Ichigo, I think that's a pretty good sacrifice. And especially for a man you're supposedly supposed to love for 5 lifetimes. So, she is basically told, straight out, we are not going to hurt you, but if you try to use your powers, we will get rid of them. I'm sorry, but if the man that I loved was getting beaten to the degree that he was being beaten by Naotora, if he was being beaten at all, I wouldn't give a crap about my powers. I wouldn't be that selfish. Not that Orihime was consciously selfish, but I wouldn't be that selfish as to be like, okay, well, my powers are going to be destroyed if I try to help the man that I love for 5 lifetimes, so I'll just hold back and say his name in a continuous mantra of Kurosaki-kun forever and ever. So that was one thing that I was like, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? You're not even going to try? This is the man you love for 5 lifetimes, quote unquote. Yeah, and then people were saying, well, she needs to vocalize. No, she doesn't need to vocalize to summon her fairies at all, actually. I don't know why I use that tone of voice. Because there are several instances where she just summons them without any vocalization. One of which is a scene with Yami, when Yami and Urukyo first show up in the human world, and Chad gets his arm ripped off. You just see the image of her. She just is standing there, and her fairies come out. She doesn't even need to vote. They're her powers. She can just use them however she wishes. She wills them to go and they go. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. It's like with Ichigo and Getsuga Tensho. There are several instances where he says Getsuga Tensho, but he doesn't as well. He just does it. Like in the second movie, for an example. I know there are several in the anime, or actually whatever, that he just does it without having to say it. But the second movie is the one I'm thinking about. You see, he goes Getsuga Tensho, and then he follows it up with another one without even having to say it. You don't have to vocalize your powers. It has been shown before by Orihime that she doesn't not need to say anything for her powers to activate. So that argument is nullified. So obviously she doesn't need her voice to vocalize her powers. And then Tesla takes turns. He takes up the reins of beating Ichigo to a pulp. Which I got sick at almost. It was awful to watch that. When he crushed his ankle and his foot just went like that, and like he took his forearm and snapped it. Oh my god, I was just like, this is awful! And all Orihime can do is Kurosaki-kun, 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 Kurosaki-kun. Dang. That sucks. And as much as people wish to argue that it wasn't within Orihime's power to do this or that, she was watching her loved one die, she was in hysterics, a 4-year-old was able to sum up the proper response to what one should do when their loved one is getting hurt. And people will also argue that, oh, she was Nell, by the way, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. She was an Espera. She knew what she was doing. Actually, no, she had no recollection at all of being number 3. All she knew was that a person that she cared for greatly was getting hurt, and she needed to do something about it. She was a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, whatever. There's not a big difference between 3 and 4. And she took that initiative that Orihime, a much older in this sense anyway, mentally, her mentality is much more mature than Nell's, technically. Much more power capable than Nell at the time being, as compared to a sniveling little 3-year-old. And also, having confessed to be in love with this guy for 5 lifetimes, is just standing there, mentally chanting his name, because she has fingers in her mouth, which is gross. Yes, I'm not saying she has it, she's all fine. And yet Nell is the one who makes that initiative. That's what Orihime should have done, is to channel that inner power that she has, because her powers have not been limited. There hasn't been a watermark to Orihime's powers yet. So you don't even know how powerful they can be. And yet she still has never used them to the fullest potential that they have, despite the fact that she has wanted to, and has voiced her want to do so from the beginning. So that happens, whatnot, and I think a major reason why Orihime is so helpless, in a sense, I guess you could say, when it comes to Ichigo, is that it's Ichigo's fault as well. It's not just hers, but Orihime is so dependent on Ichigo that she mentally is unable to break away. And it's because of her dependence on Ichigo and his ability to protect his friends that she doesn't push herself to work harder. She doesn't push herself to be the person, the protector that she wants to be. And it is Ichigo's hero complex and his want to save everyone, and especially Orihime's dependency on him, she's depending on me to push himself to the absolute limit for his friends. He would do that, which obviously he does. So I'm going to move on to, real quickly, I just thought of this. This is why I really like Urukyo and Orihime, because Urukyo encourages the fire in Orihime that she's always wanted. She slaps him. Orihime actually gets physical for the first time ever. She slaps him across the face in defense of her friends. That is the one time she has defended her friends and protected her friends. It was obviously their value. It wasn't a physical, like they were there and she was protecting them from harm. She was protecting their pride, their value as her friends, with a slap, with a physical gesture. Like, that was so powerful to me. I was like, oh my god. And then it kind of was ruined, because then she was like, and started crying. I was like, damn it, you could, so much potential. But regardless, I was still really impressed with her, and especially because Urukyo is such an unemotional, like, he doesn't have a lot of emotion. He's a very sociopath type character. You feel like he could just snap at any moment. But I think that's where I really fell in love with Urukyo and Orihime, because the way that their chemistry is so complex. I don't know why the sign means chemistry and complexity and good, but it did. It's so tangible, and like, you're able to cut it with a knife. It's right there. That they work off each other. They evoke things in one another they had never felt before. Orihime has never felt so compelled to defend her friends that she slaps somebody in the face for saying something against them. He was the one who evoked that out of her. And in turn, obviously, Orihime evoked an emotional side of Urukyo that he didn't acknowledge until his deathbed. Anyway, so I'm talking a lot, and it's very early. It's 5:37. It's 10:37. I wish it was, and I'd be able to sleep for a little while, but I'll move on to the Lost Ark now and make myself a little more comfortable. Okay, so the Lost Ark. I have a lot of beefs with the Lost Ark. I enjoyed it a lot. I did. I really did. But it's when people come and say things about the Lost Ark that are so inaccurate. Well, I should say in my opinion, obviously, because obviously I am not Taite Kubo saying, this is how it should be interpreted. But this is how I interpret it and how I believe a majority of people, or people should interpret it, because it's a healthy interpretation, in my opinion, to be safe. Ichigo is fighting Urukyo, and he continuously says, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win, blah, blah, blah. And he never specifies why he has to win. Never once does he specify why he wants to win, or why he has to win. And, people can argue that he has to win because of Orihime, but Ichigo has shown absolutely no... He hasn't backed up that inclination at all. And for those who want to argue, oh, well, he didn't back up for Rukia either, I'm not even mentioning anything about Rukia right now. I'm not even focusing on Rukia, so don't even try to bring up that argument, because that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not even sure exactly why Ichigo says I have to win. But it's within who he is to do that. He has to. Um, I, I'm actually really unsure why he has to win, apparently. But he is demolished, obviously. He's killed right before Orihime's eyes, which I thought was also very significant. The fall of the hero, the fall of the unbeatable prince, the fall of the invincible man who she had built up to be. She watched him herself die. She watched him. And that was completely ungraspable. It was unfathomable to her that this would happen. And that's why she broke down. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? The man to which I thought could never fall has fallen. So, that was that. But, nobody in their right mind would go walk over to a corpse and say, help me, protect me, save me. It's insane. It's literally crazy to do that. And I think Orihime was depicted very blatantly as crazy in these past in that scene, because Ishida is giving his all to fight Urukura, and my heart went out to Ishida because he obviously doesn't have that strength, and he's trying so hard. I love Ishida. She is so focused on Ichigo and the fact that he is no longer standing up and protecting her. She's going nuts, ballistic. That she goes so out of control. Her dependency for Ichigo is so great. The mentality she has that Ichigo is the protector, and her prince is so potent and so thick that the idea that he has fallen, the idea that he has died, is ungraspable to her. That she's begging his corpse to save her, which doesn't make sense because one, it's a corpse, but two, in the end she says, I'm not afraid of you. So if she's not afraid of him, if she wasn't afraid of Urukura, why was she screaming, save me, Kurosaki-kun? Which it was save me, by the way, not save us. I take Japanese. I mean, I've just recently started taking Japanese, but I've looked into that several times, because I was like, I don't think that's what it is. And it's save me. It's very singular. Very, yeah. So, why would she ask Ichigo to save her if she's not afraid of Urukura? Doesn't make sense. And this was my biggest frustration, was that Orihime and Ichigo fans who ship that ship went ballistic over Ichigo's hollow waking up and coming to life after Orihime's call. I am sorry, but that is not a good thing. At all. And if you try to argue that it's a good thing that happened, you're stupid. And I honestly try to stray as much as I can from being insulting, but it is depicted later in the story, not even that much later. They literally show his hollow in the form that he took in that fight in the Lust Arc, and said, this is the root of your despair, Ichigo. This is why your inner world is buried beneath the sea, and the skyscrapers that used to hopefully reach toward the sky have been diminished to nothing but the small houses of the town you live in. I mean, if that wasn't enough, if it wasn't enough right after the fight that Ichigo screams that he didn't want to win like this, and all these other things that I will get into, then you're so blatantly in denial. It's just not a good thing that happened. Not to mention that the fourth Bleach movie is about Ichigo fighting that part of his hollow and how it isn't a good thing, and everyone's like, that's not a good thing, you shouldn't turn into that. And he's like, I know it's not a good thing. Which I think it's really funny and significant that Rukia was there in the fourth Bleach movie. Spoilers. And she's the one who witnesses his last fight, and she's the one who says, Ichigo, 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 save me, Kurosaki-kun. Run away, Ichigo! And then he fights off that evil hollow, and he gains a super special power that's not his hollow, that takes over everything, and he defeats his foe. Gee, symbolic? Yeah, I think it's pretty damn symbolic. I think it's pretty essential that it's a parallel to the Lost Ark. Anyway, so he comes back as his hollow. It's so hard to get comfortable right now. I'm so uncomfortable. He comes back as a hollow, and I will not deny. Ichi thing, little bull horns. I almost neighed like a horse. What? I was like, what? Awesome! Obviously, I thought it was really awesome, but I'm able to differentiate between what I think is awesome, look-wise, power-wise, and what is not good concerning Ichigo's character development. So, he comes back, and the first thing he does is grip his sword and fly it out, and obviously all of the stones behind him go, and Orihime goes bouncing off her face in the pavement. Oh, right. I didn't cover this yet. I've looked into this several times. When Ichigo is lying there with a hole in his chest, and after Orihime has screamed, he does not say, I can hear her. She is calling me. That's not what it says at all. I have translated it. I've gone through it, because I was honestly really curious. I was like, I don't think that's what he's saying at all. And, because I'd seen it done some way somewhere else, and then I saw it done another way somewhere else. So I was like, I'm going to look into this myself. And Japanese is very specific. It has to be completely known that what subject you're talking about to leave out nouns or pronouns or whatnot. You need to involve a subject to the sentence to make it about a person or thing. And there isn't. It's literally translated into, I can hear, calling me, get up, stand up. Because you know what, it's broken sentences. Because he's not thinking clearly, he's not thinking with clear, concise thoughts. He's like dead. It's his hollow, it's his instinct speaking. And I read this in a essay by Kilara. She was comparing Alon, the chimera between Sun and the three hollow girls. The only one I remember is Sun, which is kind of unfortunate. But he seemed particularly pointless to bring up at all. With his rah, and like it's just going crazy. I just thought of Dr. Octagon. Anyway, so he seemed like a particularly pointless character to bring up. But Yamamoto says you're a sad being of just your compilation of instincts. That's all you are. And he pities it. And what does Urukure say to him? You have no humanity. All you are is instincts. It's completely the same. And look at them. Look at what Ichigo's saying. Rah! And then that's what Alon does too. It's just screaming. It's instincts. It's nothing human. And to make that all the more apparent, not only does he bounce Orihime off her face off the pavement, boom, 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 and Ishida, who is armless, has to dive to save her. He completely obliterates Urukura mercilessly, which Ichigo is not a merciless person. And then, when he's going to carve up the corpse of his enemy, which is not what Ichigos do, it's the dark side of him that Orihime refuses to acknowledge. Oh, and by the way, just kidding, hold that thought. The one person there on the dome who actually cares about Ichigo's humanity, Ishida, is trying to stop him, and Ichigo thrusts his sword into Ishida's abdomen. Ichigo's entire being is one protector. He who protects. You know, it's everything he has summed himself up to be, and has ever wanted to be. And he's demolished that by stabbing his nakama, the people he tries so valiantly to protect. Or I don't even know if valiantly is the word I'm looking for. It's almost 6 in the morning. I have excuses, like I have all night. And so the one person worried about his humanity is stabbed in the gut, and that's where I'm like, how can you even argue that this Ichigo Hollow is a good thing? It's not a good thing at all. There's nothing good about it. And to make matters all the more clear, Ichigo comes to and freaks out, obviously. I'm going to stop again because I'm at a half an hour yet again, so I'll pick it up in just a second. I'm just dividing these videos because it's kind of pathetic that I'm talking this long.